Yes, guys, welcome back to the Spurs-related YouTube channel. I'm on my own for the next 45 minutes to an hour, and I've forgotten to put my AirPods back in. That's not a good start. But yeah, let's. If, as always, you are new, then make sure you subscribe, hit like. We're going to be sort of talking over all bits to do with West Ham tomorrow. Or might even touch on the Champions League game in a few days' time as well, possibly. But most likely, all West Ham, possible team sheets, bit of sort of news from the press conference today, and yeah, we will dissect all of that when you guys are in. 1 second, we get the other AirPod in. Not come very prepared. That's poor from me, but welcome in. If you're in here, let me know. Let me know. Drop a comment. And let me know you're here. Make sure you're hitting like, subscribe, all that good stuff. It is obviously free. You haven't got to support us financially, but it does mean a lot, and doesn't go unnoticed. We do massively respect it. So yeah, if you haven't already, if you're on Twitter, if you're on X, come over here, like, subscribe, hit the bell over here, so you never miss an upload or a stream, podcast, anything like that from James, myself, or any guests that we have on. If you want to become a member, it's in the chat and in the description. For less than £1 a month, you can come and be a member, and that gives you the opportunity to come on the show with us and talk to us, and give your views and thoughts on whatever situation and whatever sort of problem Spurs find themselves in, as always. Let me know if you're in here. Numbers slowly growing. Make sure you're hitting like as well. That is important. Likes have been pretty good recently, but we want to see them higher. We want to see them higher. So hit like, subscribe, all that good stuff before we get into the main parts of today. 1 second, just messaging James. Give me a moment. Just checking that he has shared it out so that all of you guys get in here as quickly as possible. Obviously, I imagine that some might come from the last word on Spurs, which I've just been on. I've just been on over with Ricky and Johnny and Dave as well from Irish Hotspur, which was good. So yeah, let's get into the crux of this, and we will start talking about West Ham tomorrow. Obviously, big game, the return of the Premier League. Looking forward to it. It feels like it's been long overdue. It feels like we haven't had football in a long time, even though the international break has been here. But England are very, very boring, and I miss Tottenham, as crazy as that sort of statement is. Never thought it would be the sort of thing I'd ever say, actually, but I do somehow, come the end of every international break, miss Tottenham Hotspur. And this one I really do, because I know we got beat by Bournemouth, and I was so disappointed by that, but we were starting to look like a good side. So disappointing, but yeah, let's get into a bit of what was said. So the main team news is that Dominic Solanke is still out. I'll get into a bit more on that in a minute, and that Thomas Frank said he doesn't expect to be out too much longer. And that Xavi Simons and Randall Kolo-Muani are both available to make their debuts tomorrow. Thomas Frank then said about Dominic Solanke that he gets the feeling he's not too far away, but he has fallen short for this week. Hopefully that means he'll be back, maybe on the bench for Villarreal, and then subsequently in the squad for Brighton next Saturday. Hopefully he'll be in that again, because we need him. We need him, right? I was talking a minute ago on the last one on Spurs, and I said that the worry for me is that you run one of them into the ground now. Obviously you've got Kolo-Muani as well to come in, but he's not played since the Club World Cup, so he's not fully fit yet. So he's not fully fit. Solanke's not fit, and Richarlison is an injury waiting to happen half the time, which is a concern in itself. So yeah, it's important that they get him sorted, and hopefully he comes back and they can manage his minutes a little bit, and then hopefully, but we will see. Let's have a look. What else have we got? Sorry, 1 second. I don't know why it's not there. There we go. Thomas Frank on Xavi and Kolo-Muani. Both are looking really good. Both are in contention to be ready for the squad tomorrow. Xavi, for the natural reasons, is further down the line. I think that's solely just because adapting to the intensity and the level of the Premier League is probably going to be tougher for him than Kolo-Muani. And he started for the Netherlands the other day. obviously hasn't had that time to adapt to Thomas Frank's style and system either, which Kolo Muani has had for the last 2 weeks. But Kolo Muani hasn't played for a while. His last time was at the Club World Cup. So we're in a position where probably neither of them are going to start. I would suspect. I think they both play a part. I think they both come on and make an impact, but neither of them I think will start the game. I think that Richarlison. We'll get into the sort of the lineup. I think, but I think Richarlison will start the game, providing he's come back from Brazil fit, which is obviously our big hope right now. Because if not, then we're a little bit screwed. Because then we'll have 3 sort of unfit strikers, and we'll come on to tell in a moment. But so hopefully he is fit. In fact, if I get that up now, actually, it's probably worth a look now. 1 second. If you're in here, let me know you're in here in the comments, because comments are not flowing currently. Let me know that you are here. So this is the sort of thing that I think we will line up with tomorrow. Not Solanke, it's meant to be Richarlison. Sorry. I think it's going to be something along these lines. I think it would be pretty basically exactly what we played when we beat Manchester City, because it can sort of be defensive enough when you need it to be, but it can also hurt you with key players, Kudus, Pape Sarr with his energy. And I look at that midfield that I think West Ham will start with Souček, James Ward-Prowse and Fernandes. And I think that Pape Sarr with his energy, Bentancur as well with his energy, and then Kudus as well could run rings around that midfield. And that is exciting, and hopefully good stuff. 1 second. Disagree. That quote was saying Frank saying Xavi was fitter than Muani. 1 second. Sorry, I think I've read it wrong. I think you might be right. Xavi, for natural reasons, is further down the line. Sorry. Yeah, that is totally right. He's fitter than him. I've read that wrong. But I think also with Kolo Muani, I would say, whilst he's probably maybe fitter than him, I would say Kolo Muani has had 2 weeks working with Thomas Frank because he didn't go on internationals. Xavi Simons has had 2 or 3 days. So yeah, I'm a little bit unsure as to whether either of them would start. I think if one was going to start, I think it would be Kolo Muani personally out of the 2. Go Richie off the left. Sorry, I can't read. And Solanke or Muani up top, Bentancur and Sarr behind. Yeah, I wouldn't be against that. I would not be against that. Johnson scored. He scored at West Ham in Andrew's first season in a 1-1 draw. So could be. Yeah, maybe sometimes players perform well against certain teams. Xavi at 10 for sure. Yeah, I mean, my hunch is that it will be, if I got it up. No, I haven't got it up. Again, being unprepared. My hunch is that it will be something along these lines, which is what we played against Manchester City, where you see that 4, the 2 in front, and then Sarr, Kudus, and Johnson. That would be my hunch. I think that's probably the team that he trusts the most, and I don't think, given it's just after the break, he'll make too many changes to kind of what he knows. And I also think Richarlison could be impactful in this sort of game. He's a handful, and you know, the back 2 and Mavropanos and Kilman probably aren't the most agile. And so if as he's a handful, I mean, I think that could work. Pape Sarr the same against the midfield. I don't. I mean, I kind of hope I'm wrong because I want him to play, but I don't tomorrow. I think tomorrow he'll go with Sarr just because he knows him. And Sarr, if Simons hadn't been on internationals, I would have said all day long I think it would start. But it's the fact that he only started training yesterday. I could be wrong. I could be very wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. But my hunch is that Pape Sarr will start the game, and they will bring Simons on sort of with half an hour to go or so. But yeah, I mean, I spoke about it on my channel earlier on. So if that sort of is something that interests you, then go and check that out after this. Be much appreciated. Xavi Simons and where he kind of fits into this and where he could be so important in the West Ham game. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of the bit that I like is that Sarr, I think, against that midfield 3, as I said, could be really deadly. Kudus, Bentancur, this kind of triangle of these 3 here, I think against that midfield, I think could have a field day. I think could have an absolute field day. Juve loves to get forward as well. Will often be in areas like this. I think there'll be a lot of space for Kudus to come behind. Kilman is not overly quick. Neither is Mavropanos, probably the quicker of the 2, but both pretty slow. Walker Peters is probably the more defensive of the fullbacks, so maybe Johnson will push him back a little bit and give a little bit of space to and freedom to Jed Spence. And maybe you could argue that Udogie might be a better fit if a lot of the ball is going to be up high up here, and I think Udogie is a better wing back than Spence. I think Spence is a better fullback. So that's certainly interesting. I mean, you could argue that maybe you have Spence on the right and actually have Udogie on the left up here. I mean, that's another thought. Just kind of the way the game sets up, that might work better. But all round, some sort of interesting sort of dynamics. But as I say, I think these three are going to be the key because they've all got energy. Paulinho as well, but sort of less on the energy side. These three have all got energy. Bentancur, Sarr, Kudus. And these two certainly don't as much. Fernandez gets about, and Ward-Prowse gets about, but he's not. You can outrun James Ward-Prowse in the big 2025. So that doesn't concern me too much. Obviously, his set pieces concern me. But if you can cut off the link, then I think you win this game. Because obviously Somerville, Paqueta, Bowen, and probably Juve will be their four most forward-thinking players. I would suspect. Juve loves to get the balls into the box. We saw it. He got a really good assist against Nottingham Forest to Callum Wilson with a really, really good ball into the box that he swung in, and Wilson headed into the back of the net. And so he will be trying to do that. Bowen, my hunch is that Bowen will start up front and Somerville and Paqueta will start just behind him. Somerville was brilliant when he came on against Forest, and I think he's a threat. Somerville does concern me. I think that, there you go. That's kind of the reason, right? That maybe you could argue for this game, this pairing would actually work better, because I think this left-hand side is going to be more of a threat for West Ham, Somerville and Juve as a pairing. Whereas I think this right-hand side, Paqueta, if he does play in this sort of role, is going to be coming inside a lot, or Fernandez, whoever it is in this area, is going to be coming inside. And so I think unless Kyle Walker-Peters overlaps and sort of gets into these areas here, which he will, but if Johnson's clever enough to actually come back, and obviously that's then important because he's not great at that. But I think if he's then getting back, then you've got a position where you can actually probably hurt West Ham on the counter attack, because Fernandez will be quite high up as well, and quite often I think West Ham will be left with almost this box of four, because their fullback will get high, especially Juve, but they will get high. So they do leave space, and so I think having defensively good fullbacks will be important, but also on their favoured side they can break, and then you can see them actually whip balls across and for late runs, and that's why I think Johnson could be quite good. So I think if you're getting the balls in these sort of areas a lot, which I think we will because of the fullbacks, because of especially Juve on that right hand side, I think Johnson off the left with balls into the back post as a finisher is probably one of, if not the best we've got. So that's kind of my personal hunch on why I think we set up like that. Don't think Johnson deserves the start after last week. Could even see him keeping the same midfield sides. Quite possibly. It wouldn't shock me if Xavi Simons came off the left. What about Xavi? I just don't think he'll start tomorrow. I think he'll start against Brighton next week. I think that game suits him really well, actually, to a T. But I think this one as a first game, if you're going to never played in the Premier League, has barely worked under Thomas Frank's, been there for 2 or 3 days, and you're going to throw him in, away at West Ham. I think he'll probably leave him out and let Pape Sarr sort of take that role, which he can do and has done, certainly in those sort of tougher big games so far this season against PSG and City. I mean, he was absolutely excellent. Man the match at Manchester City and was one of the best players on the pitch against PSG. So I think he can do that role. I think it's sort of the smaller games when we play the Bournemouths and Burnleys and things that you actually really need Xavi Simons. And so he will make an impact off the bench, Simons, at some point. I think this is what he'll start with. I would like to see it be Udogie and Spence. I think it would be Porro and Spence would probably be my hunch. But I'd like to see Udogie and Spence. I think for this game, I think that probably works better, actually. Just because I say that defensively they're better, and I think if you can win the ball back in these sorts of areas here where sort of Spence and Udogie are now, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to break, because as I say, these fullbacks want to get forward. You can defensively, they're great. Porro on the flip side, you can argue as a passer, and certainly without a Xavi Simons in this team, you don't really have a passer. And so if I sort of if I highlight Pedro Porro as well. If I highlight Porro there, that Porro is a passer. He will look to try and find balls over the top to Johnson, to Richarlison. He'll look to sort of little combination, link up bits of play with Kudus, and he can go and whatever. And so you could argue on that side, from an attacking standpoint, that having Porro would actually be really important. And I say about getting in these areas to be able to put balls in, and he's one of the better ones doing that. it would obviously rely, I think, if he plays on Kudus getting back, but we've seen that he can do that. So I think any two of the fullback pairings work. I think it could be quite interesting. I'm not sure it's as much of a shoe-in to sort of say that he will start Porro, but I think he probably will, just because he seems to obviously quite like him, having done so far. But let's bring this back up. Let's talk about a little bit more about what was said. 1 second. Not gonna lie, I'd try you Dodgy at left wing for him. If we don't, yeah, I don't think it's an awful shout. I mean, if you can kind of drill him to just get it, take it, whip it across, I think he could. I think he could actually thrive in a role like that, because we've seen he can play that sort of role. So when he was at Udinese as an actual wing back, I think solely what's going to happen is he's going to suit different games at left back. I think Jed Spence's a full back. I think Udoji's a wing back, and so they just have different priorities, right? They have different skill sets, and so they will be good for different games. Jed Spence is great for games where you're going to be under the cosh of it, when you go away to Manchester City, or you go away to Anfield, or you go away to Stamford Bridge, or wherever, Champions League games like that. Udoji's a great defender, by the way, and I'm not saying he's not, but I think certainly, like, if you play Liverpool and Mo Salah's starting. Oh God, brought myself off. Sorry. If you stop play against Liverpool and Mo Salah is starting on that right hand side, because he comes in all the time on his left foot, having Jed Spence over on this side makes a difference, right? And I'm gonna if I just quickly change this very, very quickly to, I can't mess things up. Sorry, I'm so unprepared. There you go, right. So often when Salah gets the ball, right, and I use Salah as an example, always comes inside. We saw it last year, and the goal that we conceded in the 5-1, I think it was, in the league when they won the title, was so bad. Udoji just let him run onto his left foot, let him keep going, and next thing the ball's in the bottom corner, right? Dreadful defending. But Jed Spence, but being right-footed, stops you from kind of doing that. And so then he's having to go, and Jed Spence can comfortably sort of deal with that. So he's great at shielding the ball out and using his body for that. So I think for certain games, they're great. I think if you've sort of going to have a lot of the ball, I think Udoji's probably better to go sort of around the outside, put balls across, and create things like in that Bournemouth game. I think Udoji suits it better. I'm not saying don't start Jed Spence, by the way. You can maybe leave out Porro, but I'm saying I think Udoji should be the left back in those sort of games. I've not even brought up that, have I? I've just been talking to I'm very sorry. What I was trying to show you was that if Salah comes inside, then Jed Spence is being right-footed, probably more likely to be able to go in with him. Whereas Udoji, we saw at times, was so poor with not doing that when we played teams like Liverpool, and Salah scored the goal when they won the title. So yeah, I mean, for certain games they have certain attributes, but I could definitely see Udoji being tried in a role further forward. Frank, can you make a video going over all our depths in Champions League and Premier League? 100%. That might be on the agenda then this weekend. 1 second, let me take a little photo of the comment just so I remember it, and I will send that to James, and we'll get that sorted. And we will do that hopefully in the next week, as we're trying to push the offline content as well as the online content, which is obviously, the online content is fantastic and we love it. We love interacting with you guys, but yeah, the offline content is where we're also pushing as well, because the audiences are very different audiences. So it's just nice to sort of tap into both. I'm really worried about the game versus Villarreal. They've had a 10 out of 10 summer transfer window in terms of incomings, and they literally beat Barcelona 4-3 in Barcelona's own house. I mean, yeah, it's not going to be easy. It is not going to be easy, right? Any Champions League game is never going to be easy, bar maybe if you play that one Cypriot team at home. But all these guys really are there on merit, right? They're there because they deserve to be there. I mean, Villarreal won at Barcelona, obviously it was last season. This season so far, they're beating Real Oviedo, and they beat Girona with Tejan Buchanan scoring 3. So listen, they're not going to be easy, but when you look through that team, you know, if I get it up actually, their last team on FootMob, 1 second, and then sort of give you a better instead of me just reading it out. 1 second, Villarreal. Let's have a look. Okay, so here it is. So their last lineup an old Spurs face in there as well. Let's get this up. Stop sharing that one. Share screen. Where are we? There we are. Just very quickly as well before we have a look at that. Logan, evening, mate. Hope you're well. Yeah, likewise. Are we confident for tomorrow's game? I actually am. I will go back onto tomorrow's game in a moment. Just very quickly about Villarreal. In reply to this comment, as the numbers are growing as well, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, hit the bell. It's all free to do so. If you want to become a member, you can do. Down below, first link in the description. You can come on the show with me and James. Obviously, super chats are available as well. If you want to get a talking point in, skip the queue so your comment gets brought up. And then my channel as well, as I'm trying to sort of grow that a little bit as well. So it's much appreciated. But Villarreal, very quickly before we talk back on West Ham, if you look at the team they started in the last game, Juan Foyth, obviously a familiar face in there. And then as you sort of move up the pitch, I think that is it Pape Gueye, I want to say. Yep. I think I want to say he was at Marseille for a little while. Yeah, he was. So he is obviously in their midfield. Alongside him, Tajan Buchanan is a good player. Was at Inter Milan for a while. Obviously Canadian. Nicolas Pepe, obviously former Arsenal man. And then other than that, I'm not too clued up on sort of the rest of what they have. They obviously signed Mikatadze, as Top G14 says there. Mikatadze came in. Obviously, they signed Manuel Solomon from us. They signed the unnamed player in his 30s as well. So I imagine if he does play, will get a fantastic reception on Tuesday night. Other than that, you look through Renato Vega. They obviously got from Chelsea. He's a good player. Do like him. Danny Parejo still plays for him. Wow, I mean that's a throwback, isn't it? Obviously Manuel Solomon we said about, who obviously joined them on a deadline day. Jose Perez as well. Wow. Interesting team. Yeah, really good players. Been complete shot. Yeah, agreed. Let's be honest. If we aren't winning that game Tuesday at home, we're in trouble. Yeah, agreed. I look at those 4 home games in the Champions League: Dortmund, Villarreal, Slavia Prague, and I can't remember the last one. That's really, really bad. Someone correct me in the comments. But yeah, those 4 home games are all very winnable games, right? They're all games that you've got to go. Is it Copenhagen at home? The other one, I think it might be. They're all games that if you want to actually finish in the top 8 or top 24, but if you want to finish in the top 8, I think you've got to win all 4. I think last year you needed 16 points. I think it was to finish in the top 8. And that obviously gives you a 12. And then you could argue that Bodo Glimt and Frankfurt we've done before. Hopefully we can do again and go and get another 6 out there. And then you're sorted. No matter what happens in France and the other 2 against PSG and Monaco. Dortmund's the only one that we can afford not to win. I do agree, but there's also a good chance to beat a pot 1 team. It's a very winnable pot 1 game. And so you could argue both of them are. We were very good against PSG in that Super Cup. So maybe they both will be. Obviously a very different sort of situation though. They just come back from pre-season, so slightly different. But yeah, on to West Ham very quickly again as well. We'll go for another sort of 10 minutes or so. Yeah, I am confident actually. In fact, a little engagement piece. Get your score predictions in the chat. There are a good number of you watching, so get your predictions in the chat. I'm going to go with a 3-1 win. Actually, I'm quite positive. Weirdly, maybe that's a bad thing. I don't think you should ever be positive when Spurs go to West Ham. I mean, if you look at their last we haven't won there since 2019. Jose Mourinho's first game, 3-2 win, and then since then we've obviously drawn 3 on the bounce. Drew 1-1 twice under Ange and once under Conte. So yeah. Who do you think will be our number 10 in the future? Xavi Simons is a position. Number, who knows? Maybe if Maddison goes, someone else, but who knows? Will Dembele do they miss the game against us? I don't actually know. We play them in November, I think, PSG. I think it's like the 24th of November or something. But so I don't know how long their injuries are. I saw they're both injured, but I'm not sure what the time frame is on them. 4-1 Spurs, Kudus double, Xavi debut goal. Would be nice. Would be very, very nice. I want to see us absolutely cruise it, right, and win it 5-0 or something. But wouldn't it be good if it's 1-0 or 0-0 and then like the 95th minute, Kudus sort of goes on a little run, scores and does his little seat celebration. None of this going mental, none of that nonsense. He goes and sits on the seat and it'd be bloody fantastic. 2-1 Spurs or 2-2, but you're leaning, should I say, more towards a Desmond. Interesting. Yeah, I'd say 3-1 to us as well. Fair result. I can see us struggling and dropping points or whatever, right? Because it's us at West Ham and they raise our game and all that. But I just have a feeling this time round that we might actually win it. I think we're a good side, and so I'm starting to look forward to it. Winning would be fantastic. This is now where our season actually truly begins with 2 or 3 games every week. Agreed. 6 points from the first sort of 3 games was decent. Disappointing how the third one went, but decent. We certainly would have taken it at the start. I guess you would have said that we would have beaten Bournemouth and instead of City, but it happens. So yeah, I mean, it's been a good start, but now there's a time where there's going to be a lot of games thick and fast, and you've just got to kind of keep it going. No, it's in November. Yeah, Doué back in September, right? Okay, and Dembele in October. Yeah, I mean, they will obviously be fitter then and fresher then, I imagine, than they were when we played them. So it's a bit of a shame, but it's still a game that Spurs can certainly do something. That belief will be there because we've done it before. I think Kudus will get 2 assists. I hope so, because I have wildcarded in my fantasy team and I've kept him in, so I really hope so. I love a late winner. Limbs everywhere. It would be brilliant. It would be fantastic. And Kudus getting it would be even better. Kudus or Richarlison, that'd be nice. Or a Pape Sarr thunderbolt. But no, I'd like to hope that we kind of control it. We dictate the game. Comfortable win would be very nice. Indeed. Let's talk about the last little bit of the press conference, though. Spoke about Mathys Tel and how he reacted to being left out of the Champions League squad. He said the way he handled it, the way he trained, everything about him is extremely impressive, which is, of course, very, very positive. And that's nice to see. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that he's given him that love and that recognition for that. Grealish signing for us, it would have secured us top 6. Well, I mean, I do think Grealish would have been a good player. Whether or not we would have then got Xavi Simons is a different argument. And I think Simons is going to be a real ceiling raiser. Grealish, again, another one in my wild card in my fantasy team. Why is the numbers of you are growing? One quick plug again before we sort of continue. If you haven't already, then please like and subscribe down below. You see the little ticker going around. Sorry, that one. Smash the likes on the stream. It is much appreciated. I can't actually see how many we've got on YouTube here, so I haven't got the thing to see it. But yeah, it would be much appreciated if you do hit the like button and then obviously smash the notification bell and subscribe. It is all obviously free to do so, and it means a lot to James, myself, and everyone here at SpursRelated. So please do that. And as I say, if you can contribute financially, then the options are down below. I agree with this massively. Chose ball going to Everton, not enough playing time guaranteed at Spurs. Get him to the England squad. Agreed. And I think he's someone that probably suits being a big fish in a smaller pond as well. I'm not sure that everything him not doing that well at City was just his fault, by the way. I think a lot of it was Pep. But I think just generally, I think he probably is a player that suits being at an Everton, at an Aston Villa, Newcastle, someone of a slightly lower caliber, but can be a player that everyone loves there and adores there. And I think that's kind of what he is and what he will be at Everton. I mean, you're seeing it already. They love him, but that's kind of what I think he is, which is nice, and I think it's deserved for a good player. Thomas Frank also said, we've got something else as well. Thomas Frank also said that the size of the Champions League squad needs to be increased given how many matches they play as fixture congestion grows. And I do agree with that. You need big squads nowadays, and still we're blocking sort of that option, or the UEFA and whatever are blocking that sort of option, which is a pain. It's frustrating. Having Tel in that squad as well would have been great. And if you could have then gone out and got another loan or two, but it's pointless if they're not actually going to be in any of your squads. So yeah, I do agree with him here. And then finally, I want to bring this up. I don't think Colin is here, which is a shame. Maybe I'll bring it up the next time I see him in the chat. But I'm not sure he's here today. But he was in the chat the other day. He's often a viewer of the channel, and he said that but we should watch Dylan Lawler, the Wales centre half. He was obviously doing very well for Wales and made his debut the other day, and they kept a clean sheet. He kept a clean sheet in that game, and since then the idea is that Tottenham are interested in picking him up. So it's a young Cardiff centre half. has been raved about in the last sort of couple of months. So yeah, that could be quite interesting. I mean, obviously with Vuskovic and Kota Sakai as well. Ashley Phillips is still here. Dorrington's still at the club. So maybe that pathway wouldn't be perfect for him, but if they think he's brilliant, obviously Chelsea, Manchester United apparently want him as well. So it's obviously highly rated by a lot of these clubs. Is he a left footer? I am going to pretend I know. Why don't I Google it and find out? Is the honest answer. Sorry, 1 second. What footed is? Let's have a look. He is. That's the wrong one. It's the wrong player. Give me a second. Let me find out for you. Dylan Lawler is. Doesn't say. That's helpful. Oh, blimey, he's only a few months older than me. It makes me feel rough. Yeah, I don't know, but I know that Colin was saying the other day that he's very similar to Dean Huijsen, who's obviously just gone to Madrid, and that sort of ball-playing centre half. So he would certainly fit the mould of what we're trying to do. But yeah, I can't say I know what footed he is. I've not seen enough of him. I know of him, and I've tried to sort of follow a bit of him, but I've not seen enough of him. But before we head off, I want a little prediction. We will also me, James, and I think Billy T is going to be joining us as well straight after the West Ham game tomorrow, 7:30, 24 hours from now. We'll come on here and dissect exactly what happened in that game for half an hour, 45 minutes, whatever it will be. Hopefully, we'll be positive. So make sure you've got notifications on for that so you do not miss that live. Come in here and give your thoughts straight after the game. Before we finish, I want a little prediction from all of you. On 1 second, let me get it up underneath me. If I change that, here we go. I want your man of the match predictions. Man of the match predictions for tomorrow. Who's going to be the one that's going to stand out and actually end up giving Tottenham the 3 points, hopefully, tomorrow? I hope you lot say a Spurs player. I'm going to go. I think this is Kudus' big day tomorrow. It's going to be his first goal for Tottenham. I'm feeling positive. I'm excited, and I'm hoping that he has the game that I think he can. Xavi Simons on his debut. Let's hope so. I mean, I hope he plays. I really hope he plays. Whether or not he will start, I don't know, but I hope he does. It'd be nice to see. Yeah, get those comments in, and then we will wrap up in a moment. And make sure you hit like as well, because the likes look like they're quite low, but I can't see at the moment fully. So I'm not sure if they've updated, but they look like they're quite low. So make sure you hit like if you haven't already. It is much appreciated. But yeah, man of the match predictions for this time tomorrow. Who's going to be hopefully a Spurs player holding the man of the match trophy. Richarlison obviously takes his photo with it every time. But hopefully, or maybe it will be him. I hope it's him, because it means we've probably won the game, and that will be very, very good news and music to my ears. But I think as it's beginning to slow down, numbers nearly 100 you in here though, which is lovely and much appreciated. If you're an ex, make sure you come over and come and subscribe over here. So it's much appreciated, and the content is flowing over here. Kudus, hopefully, as he's going to get plenty of stick. That's what I'm thinking, and that's what I'm hoping as well. I think he's going to rise to that occasion and be very exciting. As I say, please like, subscribe. It would be much appreciated as well if you could go straight from this afterwards and subscribe to my channel. I will link the latest video that I posted, which was today on Xavi Simons. I will link that in the description. It'll be much appreciated. Sorry, not in the description, in the comments now. Much appreciated if you could go over there, give that some love, give it a like, give it a comment, and I'll put that in the chat a couple of times. If you could go over there once this is over, click on that and send some love over there to me, because it is much appreciated as I'm trying to sort of grow that. What game would you prefer to win at? West Ham, Villarreal? West Ham, but I want to win them both. I think they're both important games to win. So hopefully Tottenham get them over the line. Link is in there in the comments again. So go over there once this is done. It's much appreciated. Hopefully Spurs get over the line tomorrow and get those 3 points. Obviously, it's going to be a tense watch, but I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, I guess that's it. As always, come on, you Spurs, and let's hope they get the 3 points tomorrow.